We all know giant pandas. They're iconic, well-loved around the world, and used by everyone from advertisers to politicians trying to appear down to earth. These black and white bears have become a symbol of cuteness, an adorable ambassador for wildlife conservation, and an indicator species for the health of our planet. But they're also one of the most endangered species on Earth. And while we may think of them as super cute, they face very real and very serious problems. Let's dive into why these stunning creatures are in danger. It's me, and you're watching Wild Tales, Chanel. So before we can talk about what's threatening them, let's talk about what makes giant pandas so special. First off, they're pretty darn cute, which obviously isn't a biological trait, but it's a big part of why we love them so much. Giant pandas are large mammals native to south-central China, where they live high up in the mountains. There is a lead recognizable by their distinctive black and white fur, which acts as camouflage in snowy, rocky areas. Their bodies are adapted for climbing with large paws that have rough pads and sharp claws, and they spend much of their time in trees. Even though they're called pandas, they are more closely related to carnivorous carnivores like wolves and bears than to other plant-eating herbivores like goats and deer. Giant pandas play an important role in maintaining the forest ecosystem. As both predators and prey, they help regulate the populations of other species and provide food for scavengers when they die. But they're most well known for being highly specialized bamboo eaters. In fact, they eat over 99% of their diet in bamboo. This has led some to call them less a bear than a really furry rodent. Bamboo forests rely on giant pandas for seed dispersal, and without pandas, these types of forests wouldn't thrive. So it is in our best interest to make sure these forests remain healthy, because we rely on them too. Bamboo helps prevent soil erosion, improve water quality, and sequester carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. But despite their importance to the ecosystem, giant pandas are currently endangered and have been listed as a vulnerable species since 1990. There are four main factors that put these furry friends at risk. The first factor, putting giant pandas at risk, is the loss and fragmentation of their habitat. Most of the wild giant pandas live in southwest China, where dense bamboo forests cover steep mountain slopes. But these forests are being destroyed for two major reasons: agriculture and human development. As the human population grows, so does the demand for farmland to feed that population. And as cities expand, they need more space for housing and industry. Because of this, the area of continuous forest that pandas rely on has shrunk dramatically. Not only that, but breaking up these forests into smaller patches leaves isolated pockets of pandas with limited access to mates. And that leads us to the second reason giant pandas are at risk: their limited diet. As we mentioned earlier, nearly all of a giant panda's diet consists of bamboo. That means if the bamboo forests shrink or disappear, the pandas do too. Some pandas might be able to switch to other plants if bamboo is scarce, but that could lead to malnutrition and death. This is already happening as bamboo forests are destroyed. Much of the remaining habitat is degraded and the quality of food available there has dropped drastically. In some areas, pandas must walk up to 18 miles per day to find enough to eat. And even then, it's not enough to meet their nutritional needs. It's estimated that they need to consume over 26 pounds of bamboo per day, which takes a lot of energy to gather. Sometimes that search takes them far away from their home territory, exposing them to threats like cars, farms, and people. The final piece of the puzzle is the giant panda's extremely low reproduction rate. Female pandas only ovulate for a few days each year, and it's hard to tell when that will happen. Once fertile eggs are released, they can only be fertilized for about 12 to 24 hours. So getting a panda pregnant is tricky business. Pandas typically mate during the spring and summer when bamboo is most abundant and females are more likely to ovulate. But even when pandas do mate successfully, less than 20% of the time does the pregnancy result in a live birth. In zoos and panda breeding centers, scientists can monitor females and artificially inseminate them to boost the chances of successful reproduction. But in the wild, this is much more difficult, and the odds of survival are slim. Only about 1 in 10 panda cubs will survive to adulthood. Many cubs don't get enough milk, or are killed by predators like snow leopards and wolves. And even if they do make it to adulthood, it can take years for them to find a mate. All of this means that the giant panda population just doesn't rebound quickly. To understand how these three factors work together to endanger the giant panda, let's look at this model created by researchers at the University of California, Berkeley. Researchers plugged data about giant pandas, including their habitat, food sources, and reproduction rates into this computer model to simulate various scenarios and see what would happen to the population over time. In this scenario, researchers assume that giant pandas will continue to lose habitat and that the bamboo forests will continue to degrade. Under those conditions, the giant panda population declines until it disappears sometime between 2040 and 2070. Thankfully, we're already working to protect pandas and their habitats. In the 1960s, the Chinese government realized that something needed to be done to protect the dwindling panda population. So they started creating panda reserves and national parks to safeguard their habitat. One example is the Wolong National Nature Reserve, which was established in 1963. Since then, the amount of protected land has grown to over 186,000 square kilometers, an area larger than Switzerland. These reserves have helped panda numbers grow, but there's still a long way to go. There are currently around 1,864 giant pandas living in the wild. But that's still only about half of the 3,000 or so individuals that scientists believe are needed to ensure the species' long-term survival. To achieve that goal, reserves are working on replenishing bamboo forests, safeguarding panda habitats from further destruction, promoting sustainable land management in surrounding areas, and educating local communities about the importance of panda conservation. Groups like WWF are also working to protect pandas by addressing the underlying causes of habitat loss and degradation. For example, they're working with farmers to create buffer zones around protected areas and helping communities develop sustainable economic activities that don't require clearing forests. They were also working with businesses to reduce demand for products made from illegally logged wood and supporting projects that restore degraded forests. If you want to help protect giant pandas, there are a lot of options. First, consider donating to an organization like WWF or a local conservation group. Nonprofits use donations to fund research, conservation, and education programs, and often have experts who can address specific needs within the community. Beyond monetary donations, there are a lot of ways to make an impact. Consider reducing your consumption of products made from paper, bamboo, or other plant fibers. Make sure anything you buy that comes from forested areas is certified sustainable. And spread awareness. Share this video with your friends and family and encourage them to do the same. Educating others about the threats facing giant pandas and the actions they can take to help is one of the most powerful things we can do. All of this can seem overwhelming, but every little bit counts. So next time you hear someone say that pandas are the poster child for conservation, you'll know that they've earned it. So why are giant pandas endangered, or losing their homes, running out of food, and having trouble reproducing? And while we may think of them as super cute, they face very real and very serious problems. But by understanding those problems and taking action, we can help protect these iconic creatures for generations to come. Thank you for watching this episode of Life Noggin. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to share with others. Subscribe and hit the bell icon to get more science videos like this one. And as always, thank you for watching.